I'd stay away from there right now. The tower is the main stronghold of the Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth and their allies. Going up against that many of them would be suicide. I have a better idea. If the demons and their mortal agents were better organized, the Crusaders would have been crushed long before now. But they're always trying to spread in every direction. Right now, in every corner of the city, there are demons like Kylus who are trying to consolidate their forces to launch a joint attack on the Defender's heart. Greybor. I'm a contract killer who's been hired to kill that demon that just walloped that other one. I've tracked him all the way here, and was planning to kill him when that crowd showed up, so I had to pull back. I'm afraid that's confidential. As a professional, I'm obliged to keep my client's name a secret. Don't even think about trying to take them all on single-handed. You'll be mincemeat. Better to warn the Crusaders in the Defender's heart that the demons are planning to attack. And later, once the attackers have been taken care of, it'll be much easier to sweep through this tower and eliminate the Defenders left behind.
Like when dueling with rapiers. One doesn't lunge, but waits for the opponent to strike and leave themselves open.
Yeah, exactly like that.
Or like in cards, wait for your opponent to play his hand, and then dive under the table, grab the pot, and run.
I have no desire to die today. If you choose to go in there, I'll take advantage of the opportunity, of course. I'll kill Kylus and get back here as quickly as I can. I'm not going to fight any of the others. I don't work for free.
The city is burning. People are dying. And you're thinking about how to fill your pockets?
Yes. So what? Listen here, girl. If you're so eager to save someone, go and do it. And don't waste your breath preaching at me. I hope you act wisely.
You take on an aspect of an angelic being, including some of its physical characteristics. You gain resistance to acid and cold 10, and DR 5/evil. You also gain a +2 deflection bonus to AC and a +2 resistance bonus on saves against attacks made or effects created by evil creatures. In addition, your natural weapons and any weapons you wield are considered good, aligned for the purpose of overcoming damage reduction.
Appreciate privacy.
Together, we stand.
Aren't we in trouble yet? Doubt is the heart's greatest challenge.
Would you please keep this ugly thing away from me?
Lead on.
That's nicely. Something wrong?
It is no trouble.
Well,
Rely on me.
My tail is restless.
Always be ready for the worst.
I heed the voice of the spirits.
Meditate on your mistakes. Might make you feel better.
The light! Take you! This'll leave a bruise. Together, we stand.
Something wrong? Cover me, all right?
I will help where I can.
The Inheritor, guide my blade!
I'll cut you wide open! Pain is excruciating.
I'll split you in half!
You've crossed the wrong mongrel.
The spirits demand your blood.
You won't survive me.
You are today's sacrifice! So this is how it feels?
Smear them. endure this! I won't go down this easy.
Rely on me. Into the fray!
Make every strike
Stab
count.
you or zap you. Why not both?
Move aside.
This is my kind of work. Just don't blame me.
Doubt is the heart's greatest challenge.
Can we retreat already?
I'll split you in half. mir!
You've crossed the wrong mountain.
Cover me, all right? Stab you or zap you? Why not both? Distract them from me.
The Prestidigitator Painter Golem is an artifact of the Aslanti culture from the Golden Age of the Aslanti Empire. Made by the clerics of Shelyn, this magnificent magical construct has a number of highly specialized magical abilities that allow it to cast various illusions on its surroundings. Despite the great expense that went into its creation, this golem has no practical function and was used solely to satisfy the aesthetic needs of the Aslanti. In keeping with Shelynite philosophy, these golems were designed to wander through their cities to improve the appearance of anything deemed insufficiently pleasing to the eye. True to its purpose, each Prestidigitator Painter Golem was meticulously crafted without consideration for the cost of the required materials, and as a result, the modern-day cost of such a masterpiece would be truly astronomical. Sadly, most golems of this kind were destroyed in the same cataclysm that destroyed Old Aslant. This model was gifted to the Tower of Estrod Museum by the Temple of the Sunrise Chrysanthemums in Tienxia. A pale and frightened half-elf looks at you warily. His face is twisted into a grimace like he just ate something slimy. Hey. Who are you? Praise Baphomet. What are you doing here? Did Faxon send you? I heard a noise outside, but I was busy making a list of the relics. Did something happen? The half-elf pitches forward, but then grabs his bag and leaps away from you. You're lying. You want me to turn away so you can strike me in the back and take the papers that have been entrusted to me. The half-elf leaps back nimbly, pulling a sheaf of papers from his bag as he goes. No. I have valuable letters from Lord Xanthar here. I must destroy them. The cultist balls the pages up in his fist and shoves them into his mouth, then begins furiously chewing like a hamster. A moment later, the half-elf's eyes bulge and he opens his mouth, which is stuffed with masticated paper. He tries to cough but nothing comes out. The failed saboteur looks at you in desperation. His eyes are streaming, his face is growing paler by the second, and he falls to his knees. A strangled wheeze emerges from behind the wad of wet paper. His expressions veer from the hilarious to the grotesque as he signals to you for help. Want some salt or pepper with that? Now I've never tried eating paper myself, but a little seasoning goes a long way, whatever the meal. A merciful blow ends the hapless half-elf's life. This is undoubtedly a far kinder death than suffocation. A wad of crumpled pieces of paper with visible bite marks and traces of saliva. The writing is blurred and indistinct, most of the words are completely illegible, but some fragments are still intact. Carefully pack up all the relics and valuable magic items and hand them over to the same courier that brought you my potions. Later, I may carve out some time away from my scientific research to sift through the detritus you managed to steal from the Crusaders. I might as well not bother, since your finds will almost certainly be of no use to me, unless I find myself in dire need of a paperweight. Still, this mission keeps you occupied and gives me an invaluable opportunity to work without you sticking your nose into my experiments. I once again remind you that the rest of the text is illegible. Only a few more sentences can be read toward the end. The punishment will be painful, brutal, and utterly inhumane. Remember this. Good luck with conquering whatever you are conquering out there. Xanthar Vang. Gallery exhibits. Among the cloudy colossi. In this picture the two angels, Targana and Lariel, are chasing and fighting a deadly Vroliki demon in the air, several miles above the world wound. After this battle, the skull of the slain demon was long displayed as an artifact in one of Drazen's inner towers. Sadly, this relic did not survive the fall of the city. Farewell to Sarkoris. Eliandra, the legendary priestess of Pulura, watches the city of Is crumble into the freshly opened world wound. A caravan of desolate refugees, desperately fleeing to seek salvation in Mendef, can be seen behind her. Crusader Queen. A copy of the famous embossed bas-relief originally created by Master Derek Sunhammer. Young Queen Gaffrey is portrayed personally leading her crusaders into battle on the 1st of Abadius, 4624, during the First Crusade. Here we stand and will not take a step back. Hand of the Inheritor, the Herald of Iomade is depicted placing the first wardstone among the fortifications of Canabers. None will escape my all-seeing eye. Inquisitor Hulrun fights a shadow demon that he exorcised from a soldier's body. Seat of Grief. A view of the infamous Heaven's Edge estate. This is the place where most of Mendevian aristocratic society at once fell prey to a supernatural plague unleashed by the demons. A world long gone. A thematic collection of various artists' works on everyday life in Sarkoris before the opening of the world wound. The first triptych is dedicated to the funeral rituals held at the Pulura's Fall Temple for the deceased chieftains. The next cyclus of miniatures depicts various scenes from a woodworker's workshop. This form of craftsmanship held almost sacred status in Sarkoris. Several views of the city of Is, the masterpiece of Sarkorian architecture, can be seen in the following series of engravings. Finally, the last painting, The Threshold Prisoners, portrays a group of spellcasters imprisoned in the infamous prison tower. The origin of the picture is unclear, but the woman in shackles that can be seen in the background is widely believed to be the betrayer of humanity Aurelu Forlesh herself. Yanil by a fountain. This painting is attributed to Deniza Roche, a soldier from the garrison of Canavers. Deniza was not a professional artist, yet she had one advantage over the professionals who created later portraits of Yanil the Blue-Eyed. The heroine of the First Crusade sat for this unique picture personally, which undoubtedly gives it much greater historical value. Yanil is caught during a rare moment of repose near a fountain in the city. The portrait was presumably painted from life over the summer of 4637, 1 year before Yanil's heroic death during the battle for Drazen. Reliquary exhibits. Wand of Zacharias. The wand of the famous mage Zacharias, who made his name during the heroic and tragic siege of the Lost Chapel. As the fortress warden, he sent his apprentices to break the siege in order to save the priests who served the chapel's many gods. Zacharias himself refused to leave the fortress, however, and is believed to have perished in the final onslaught. A popular legend says that the spirit of this brave hero still haunts the ruins of the Lost Chapel, waiting for a worthy crusader to bring back his wand and plead for aid in the darkest of times. This item was donated to the museum by Zacharias's apprentice, Mage Teldon. Vessel of Rielas. This copper vessel and the oil inside it were sanctified by Rielas, priest of Iomede and faithful crusader. A batch of lamp oil had been brought to the crusaders' camp, and Rielas took the vessel to move it to the storehouse. Rielas's faith was so deep that it made the oil shine all by itself, and the vessel became covered with engravings praising the goddess. This item was donated to the museum by Rielas's fellows in arms. Helmet of Scrotcha. This helmet belonged to Bathista Scrotcha, paralictor of the Order of the Gate and one of the first Hell Knights to serve his duty as a crusader. During the most unstable and dangerous first weeks of the war, Scrotcha saved the crusade from infighting between the worshippers of different gods. When a Hell Knight killed a paladin of Iomede in a personal duel, Scrotcha stopped the imminent bloodshed by stepping up for his soldier and taking the blame for his deed. This was far beyond his duty, but Scrotcha defended the honor of his order by proposing to wash out the insult with his own blood. Scrotcha agreed to be beheaded in exchange for a peace treaty between the two orders. His death put an end to the rivalry in the Crusader ranks once and for all, and his sacrifice will be remembered by all Crusaders forevermore. This item was donated to the museum by Queen Gaffrey, Sword of Iomede. Terendeleft's Claw. This is a claw taken from the silver dragon and protector of Canavers. It was cut off by demons when Terendelef heroically saved a group of ambushed crusaders from certain death. This item was donated to the museum by the Town Hall of Canavers. We regret to inform you that the bulk of the Third Crusade exhibits is currently not available for viewing. It has been moved to the museum's storeroom for restoration and cleaning. Please accept our sincere apologies. Celestials native to any of the three upper planes of creation. Servants of the good gods, angels have come to Crusaders' aid in their fight against the world wound more than once. It's worth noting that most of those who interfered in mortal life were driven by their own free will and not by any deity's order. However, the good gods do not forbid such impulses, allowing their celestials to seek a reckoning with the forces of evil.
Make way!
The old man, looking around absent-mindedly, shrinks away as you get closer. His head seems to shake uncontrollably, but his hands are surprisingly deft and assured as they level a magic wand at you. Stay back. Which are you, robber or demon? Hey, take it easy, Gramps. So that's the way it is, eh? You see horns and you think thief or demon.
Quit scaring the old man, dummy. Have you seen your horns? They, how should I put this, don't exactly inspire trust in a city that's currently overrun with demons.
Hey. There are horns, and then there are horns. The old man goggles at you in terror, but he doesn't lower his wand. A rustling comes from somewhere behind him, rats. The old man wheels around fearfully and peers in the direction the sound came from. The hand holding the wand gradually falls to his side. When he turns back to you, there is no fear in his expression, only vague confusion. I'm sorry, I was distracted. What were we talking about? The museum custodian looks at you in stark surprise. Demons. There have been no demons in this museum. I heard them breaking into the tower, but then everything went quiet. Then a very polite young fellow came along, a half-elf. He said Kenabers was under attack, but that the Crusaders had already recaptured the tower. He said he'd been sent to oversee the evacuation of the museum. He was very pleased to find me here. I proved a very useful resource. I showed him all the most valuable relics, explained what they were, and he wrapped them up, labeled them, and carried them off somewhere. And I've been here all this time. I locked the doors and stood guard to make sure no demon got in. But I've seen not a one of them, haven't heard any either. I've grown hard of hearing over the years. The old man frowns in confusion. What do you mean, demon worshipper? That fine young lad, so well dressed, so polite, but he said the Crusaders, oh my word. The relics. We must go after them. The old man works himself into a state, bitterly lamenting as he roots through his many pockets. But the outburst doesn't last long. The motion of his hand slows and the awareness fades from his eyes. He stares off into the distance and then looks at you, wets his lips, and sheepishly inquires. Sorry, did you say something? The old man seems to come to life. It would take a lifetime to tell you all there is to know, but I'll take you on a tour of the highlights, some of my personal favorites. You should have a look yourself, you won't regret it. For instance, we have a painting here depicting angels fighting demons. Now, you may find it hard to believe, but in the First Crusades, many heavenly beings fought shoulder to shoulder with the Crusaders. And these two in the painting are Targana and Larial, the Silver Twins, as they were called. I actually met them, you know. When I was a young man studying under Masters Atreus. They had no airs or graces about them, they walked among the mortals, they spoke to us, they healed our wounds. Lady Targana I remember especially well, she had a special, unearthly wisdom within her. The angel Larial, on the other hand, was known for his daring, and the youngest Crusaders idolized him. I wonder where they are now, the twins. We don't have celestial beings in our ranks anymore. They all left sometime during the Second Crusade. On a very important mission, they say. But I do love looking at this painting and remembering those days when envoys of the heavens walked among us, and the light that seemed to shine from within them. The old man wipes his eyes. What was I saying? You must be a messenger, yes. Or are you a visitor?
Why did those times end? Why do the Celestials not fight with us still? Heaven has not abandoned us, surely?
That's a good question. Of course, angels are not born like mortals, so they can't have a mother and father or sisters and brothers as we understand them. Angels come into being from reincarnated souls, or from the pure essence of the upper planes. Sometimes, angels may adopt some features of mortals, for instance they can identify as male or female, although that is not generally their way. Some of them can also develop bonds of camaraderie or even of kinship. But the case of the Silver Twins is rarer still. They are two angels who emerged from one soul. What else should they call themselves if not twins? The old man smiles, seemingly satisfied with his speech, but within moments, his vacant expression is back in place, all awareness gone from his eyes. The old man raises the wand again, his back ramrod straight in a show of his military training. There is a dark glint in his eyes. Don't you even think of it. These are relics, I tell you. If you lay a finger on any one of them, I'll turn that finger to dust.
Hey!
wide open? What is that?
Pretty good, aren't I?
Paladin of Iomity, the Lightbringer and Knight of Citadel Drazen, heroine of the Crusades. Yenneil disobeyed her orders by leaving the garrison to venture deep into the world wound alone. 2 years later, she returned at the head of a Crusader squad she'd saved. Died during the fall of Drazen in 4638. Imperial Lord Pulura, Mistress of the Stars and the mysterious light of the Aurora, is one of the most revered deities of old Sarkoris. Her worship was widespread among the Khelids, who built numerous shrines in honor of their patroness. The foremost of these shrines, considered particularly cherished and sacred, was located on a lakeshore surrounded by picturesque waterfalls called Pulura's Fall. The translucent silhouette of a winged female warrior glows softly.
You brought us back to waking. Greetings. Not who, what? Memories. This place was created as a cradle of memory and fantasy. The things that belonged to the city's heroes were kept here. People used to come to this place to remember those heroes. And myself and the others are living memories. You woke us, so here we are. Of the heroes the city wished to immortalize. Go, touch a memory, see how they remembered us. After all, this place was created so that our names would never disappear into the mists of history.
There used to be a place like this near Neathholm. Lawn size. Quiet, calm. I used to walk among the plinths and pedestals, wondering, the people who founded the place, what was driving them? Were they thinking about future generations, how to pass down their wisdom and show the right path? Or were they thinking of themselves, trying to keep their names and deeds alive? But then the ceiling collapsed and that place didn't exist anymore, so my question was moot.
I wish I could say that we have not dishonored your memory. But Kenobers lies in ruins, and we. But you fearlessly battle the invaders, with no thought for yourself. You have earned no censure. We are proud of you.
Right. In the olden days, mortal kind lost to the demons time after time after time, and now their descendants are continuing their losing streak. How could they not be proud of that? A soft smile appears on the woman's face.
I sensed something in you. As if you are close to me somehow, like we stood shoulder to shoulder once in the face of evil, and that we must do so again. I sense that light dwells within you. Very recently you were threatened by a powerful demon and dark bloodlust tried to enslave your soul, but you opposed it and held fast. Continue to follow the path of light and other righteous souls will aid you and follow you.
During the encounter with Hosilla and Demon Savame-Lek, you resisted the blood rage and awakened the light of heaven inside you. The translucent silhouette throws up her weapon in defense, but she disintegrates into nothing at the first strike.
Follow me, or don't.
The spirits demand your blood!
Time to share your treasures!
This was unexpected.
I'm done with you!
We will win this war.
side.
Great. The places where the demons have gathered need to be cleared one by one. Then they won't be able to stab us in the back when we take on the Grey Garrison. Thank you for your service.
Sela smiles at you warmly.
Hey there. During that march through the dungeon, we never got the chance to exchange a proper greeting. It's high time I shake your hand. Arabeth is worried about her fighters. I understand that. I wanted to look for Janna myself, so I didn't distract you. But since you're in this too, I could use some help. Janna and I met in Canabers a few days ago and just hit it off. We went drinking together. We went to that unforgettable celebration together too, but we got separated in the crowd. So we should start looking from the main square, that's where I last saw her.
Sela frowns.
Janna is a good fighter, even if she is green. She couldn't have become an Aldori otherwise. I hope that means she's alright. It's complete chaos. It's lucky we're here to handle it, right?
Sela smiles brightly. Then she gives you a worried look.
Does the way I talk bother you? I know I can seem blasé. Many good people, and our protector Terendelev, died here in Canabers. A paladin of Iomity is expected to be properly respectful and solemn. But I prefer to face my troubles with a smile and a bit of common sense. Grief is a weapon they'll use against you. It can undermine a warrior's spirit. It's better we hold off on grief until we've driven the last demon and cultist from the city. It's nice when you and your commander think alike.
Sela smiles softly.
How about covering myself in glory and becoming the hero of 100 ballads? Or at least a dozen, if they're lively ones.
Sela's eyes shine cheerfully.
Anyway, to be more serious, the area around the World Wound is the best place for a paladin who wishes to defend the weak and serve good. Being part of the crusade is reward enough for me. But there's something that worries me. I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing my brothers in arms. But the Eagle Watch and the other orders are focused on just one aim, the war against the World Wound. That's why they can sometimes overlook the smaller things, ordinary misfortunes, you know. I always liked being a wandering knight because any moment I could get up and go help a poor ratfolk whose family had been kidnapped. Or an old woman whose favorite dog had gone missing. So here's my answer, I don't have some big, important goal, but I'll be happy to help those who need it, a little bit here and there. Of course. Ask anything, I'll answer honestly. I'm a little bit from Geb, a little bit from Katapesh, but mostly from the Knights of Iomadi. I was accepted and began my training at 14. I belong to their ranks more than I belong to any other place. A very long one.
Sela looks at you cheerfully.
A traveler is expected to have amusing stories. Unfortunately, I have only 3 tales of any interest, and I'd like to save them for our next feast. Otherwise I won't have anything to show for myself when it's time to start bragging. And that just won't do. Especially since I'll win the night with my cautionary tale of a battle with Chupacabras. I like your attitude. We'll never overcome grief and misery without hope for the better, and dreams of brighter days.
Sela's gaze sharpens momentarily. Then she sighs.
That's a serious question and a good one. You should ask it of your companions. But it's a long story. To start with, 12 years ago I was nothing like the person I am now. I roamed the streets of Soko with the other homeless orphans. I stole, I fought, I was a hired sword for a bit. Not the proper origin for a paladin, is it? Back then, Soko was a city of orphans, widows, and widowers. Gnolls decimated the city regularly. My parents were among their victims. People there heard about new deaths before they'd finished mourning their previous losses. One day a group of Knights of Iomadi brought a glimmer of hope to the city. But while others saw them as saviors and protectors, I was busy pricing up their noble horses and their gleaming mithril armor, wondering just how much one of their pretty swords would fetch, haha. A thief lives one day at a time, that's what they say. I was the type that never thought past the next job. Anyhow, I was able to sneak into the Knights' camp and steal one of their mithril helms.
Sela pauses, her voice sad and measured.
And I was right there when a gnoll attacked the helm's owner, Asimi was her name, and dealt a blow to her unprotected head. A gnoll like all those others she'd fearlessly driven from the gates of Soku. That one blow was fatal, but who was really to blame for her death, the gnoll attacker or the young thief named Sela? So that's how you see it.
Sela looks at you with curiosity but no hostility.
I can't accept that point of view. If the story of my youth taught me anything, it's that we're all accountable for our actions. It's too easy to wave off responsibility if you use the cruelty of life as an excuse. But you were asking what brought me into the ranks of Iomada's warriors. We all choose the paladin's path for our own reasons. Some are guided by nobility of spirit, some by a desire to fight injustice. I became who I am through penance and a debt unpaid. The day Asimi died protecting my city, I wanted to kill myself for the terrible guilt I felt. But then I realized it wouldn't make the world any better. And I decided that instead I'd try to take her place. I'd become who she had been, and protect the innocence that she would no longer be able to protect.
Sela smiles.
I'll tell you. I like to recite our code. It feels like I've said it 1,000 times, but it never gets old. There is strength in these words.
After a pause she begins, her voice slow and meditative.
I will learn the weight of my sword. Without my heart to guide it, it is worthless. My strength is not in my sword, but in my heart. If I lose my sword, I have lost a tool. If I betray my heart, I have died. I will have faith in the inheritor. I will channel her strength through my body. I will shine in her legion, and I will not tarnish her glory through base actions. I am the first into battle, and the last to leave it. I will not be taken prisoner by my free will. I will not surrender those under my command. I will never abandon a companion, though I will honor sacrifice freely given. I will guard the honor of my fellows, both thought and deed, and I will have faith in them. When in doubt, I may force my enemies to surrender, but I am responsible for their lives. I will never refuse a challenge from an equal. I will give honor to worthy enemies, and contempt to the rest. I will suffer death before dishonor. I will be temperate in my actions and moderate in my behavior. I will strive to emulate Iomada's perfection. I hope I didn't bore you. Ask me something else if you like.
Make way.
An imposing young Oread is surrounded by a crowd of crusaders who are hanging on to her every word.
I hope this example clearly illustrates the difference between Jistka legionnaires from the last war and the Crusaders. The perfection of form and spirit they were imbued with during creation turned them into parts of a well-balanced war machine, not a ragtag bunch of individuals, but a united whole.
The Jistka Imperium was the first human kingdom to establish itself in the Inner Sea region after the centuries of darkness and devastation caused by Earthfall. Its citizens spoke a nearly forgotten language called Jistka, whose alphabet became the basis of the alphabets of the modern languages of Skald, Varishian, and Taldan. At its height, it dominated all of northwestern Garand and also parts of southwestern Avistan. Raids of desert nomads and attacks by powerful outsiders from -3300 onward, and the lack of a strong eastern trade route, led to the slow decline of Jistka. Osirian, then a burgeoning kingdom under the control of the powerful pharaoh of forgotten plagues, pushed westward. It overthrew the already weakened Jistka, and the Imperium was plunged into numerous succession wars around -2764, from which it was never again able to recover its former political, military, and economic power. Because of this military and economic defeat, the important cultural, magical, and technological advances of the Jistka Imperium were largely lost and forgotten.
Now tell me again why I am supposed to be impressed by your reckless assaults, where everyone is fighting for their ego and for the right to beat their peers to a swift but pointless, heroic sacrifice.
Some of the Crusaders grumble unhappily, but it is clear that they are captivated by the woman's words. The only exception is a scraggly and disheveled halfling monk whose puffy black eye gives him away as a brawler and a troublemaker. He enthusiastically pushes forward and tries to engage, but one of his friends swiftly jabs him in the back with an elbow, making the poor fellow pause to catch his breath. The woman gives you a suspicious look and raises an eyebrow.
Were your words meant to recognize my achievements, or to start a fight the way Mendavian crusaders usually do?
One of the crusaders angrily curls his fists tightly and retorts with a burst of passion.
If those Jists of yours, or whatever, had come for us, we'd have their guts for garters. You think we've never fought a mighty adversary before?
The soldier's stern facade cannot fully conceal his relish. He clearly plans to enjoy this confrontation. The crusaders around him look upon their exotic opponent with a mixture of irritation and piqued interest. The woman chuckles before cutting off her interlocutor.
I would love to see you storm a 60-foot-tall walking castle shaped like a gigantic elephant that carries siege fortifications on its back. And I'll have you know these fortifications were defended by Jistkan priest craftsmen armed with demon-bound war machines. They used the enemies you cannot defeat as mindless weapons.
The woman gives the people around her a triumphant look and adjusts her clothes with pointed nonchalance. Her voice takes on a lecturer's tone.
You should not argue with someone who happens to be the most authoritative researcher on the history of warfare 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom.
For more than 4,000 years, Absalom has been the city at the center of the world, a metropolis-sized showcase of the greatest treasures on all Galarian. The city not only holds a key strategic position for both commercial and military endeavors in the region, but encompasses the site of the ascension of 4 deities and claims to have been founded by none other than the last Aslanti, the god Estrod. The woman looks at you and flashes an amused smile.
The lecture is over. Do my esteemed listeners have any questions? I am Indara, warrior, magus, and scholar of classical warfare from Garand.
The woman gives you an assessing look, then sighs.
I admit that I am mildly offended by the fact that my name is entirely unfamiliar to you. You could make an effort and learn the names of the best of your own race.
Garand is the continent found south of Avistan, across the Inner Sea and west of Kazmarin, from which it is separated by the Oberi Ocean. During the late Age of Anguish and Age of Destiny, central Garand was the heart of civilization in the hemisphere, and this legacy of arcane discovery remains even today in the nations of Osirian, Nex, Nantambu, and Halamig. Beyond these bastions of civilization, Garand is overrun by dangerous wilds, from expansive deserts to impenetrable jungles.
To witness a legendary war. The confrontation between denizens of a plane famous for its love of violence and the crusaders from every continent, united by the common goal of defending their home. An epic struggle of colossal proportions, that hasn't been particularly epic so far, truth be told.
The monk with the black eye grins and mutters under his breath. Maybe she just can't see it from here? The view will get way more epic if she stops hiding among us and takes a walk outside. The woman smirks contemptuously. She does not deem the monk's words worthy of comment.
Hardly surprising. I've presented my take on this war in a clear and succinct manner. There's nothing to argue about. I like to think of myself as an inhabitant of Golarion, and I don't narrowly identify with any country in particular. No, I am a historian, an analyst, a theorist. Do you know what these three words have in common? They describe a mortal woman who does not participate in the conflict upon which her thesis will be founded. But then again, I will hardly be able to describe this mess as anything other than a feeble likeness of the last war of Jistka.
The monk with the damaged eye grins slyly and comments. The more dangerous the upcoming scuffle is, the more motivated we are to find clever and pretty words to justify not actually doing the fighting.
The last war of Jistka, of course. A large-scale conflict that took place 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. It was a war against the Osirian pharaoh of Forgotten Plagues, the war that ended the legendary Jistka Imperium. An epic struggle that became the most vibrant page in military history. Alas, all conflicts that followed it were but a pale shadow, including the one I am witnessing here.
One of the first civilizations to rise in the wake of Earthfall, Osirian is also one of the greatest empires in the history of Golarion, a nation of great knowledge, wealth, and power. This ancient land harbors pyramids, mummies, terrible curses, and endless sand, as well as a culture steeped in proud traditions, devout respect for the gods, dedication to communal service, and unswerving devotion to its rulers. Osirian today is just emerging from millennia of Kalashite rule and regaining the legacy of the pharaohs supplanted by these foreign oppressors.
Imagine legions of golems imbued with extraplanar spirits marching into battle. Imagine flying cities that swoop out of the clouds, like terrifying monstrous birds of prey, to drop forces on top of enemy castles. Picture gigantic mechanisms powered by captive, and very angry, demons and devils. Imagine standing in the warpath of walking citadels or having to cover your ears to block out the sound of cannons loaded with shrieking elementals. Finally, imagine the ultimate weapon that defeated the Jistka, the deadly night plague. This affliction was an attack dog, a trained epidemic, a tamed pestilence, striking only those who its master wanted to kill. Imagine all these terrors and understand that no flight of fancy can even come close to the horror of the nightmares that they made real. I can say without false modesty that there is no more authoritative researcher on Golarion when it comes to the history of warfare 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. I've dedicated my whole life to this subject. I've personally visited old battlefields, and studied the most mysterious and forbidden archives containing chronicles of ancient wars, sometimes risking my life in the process. I saw a fallen sky city of the Shori Empire with my own eyes. I ripped out the control crystal from an exterminator-class combat golem that guarded a Jistka laboratory with my own hands. These fingers held the glass flask that the servants of Pharaoh of Forgotten Plagues used to create the first generation of pestilence that devastated the Jistka Imperium. How do I know so much? I saw and touched everything I am telling you about. A debate? Oh, I will be happy to prove that the current conflict can't hold a candle to the last war of Jistka. Very well. The last war of Gistka was waged using a significantly greater number of troops. Both sides actively relied on reinforcements from allied planes, and their strategic planning was perfected through no fewer than 7 rounds of intensive design. None of the above applies to this war of yours. Compared to the Gistka, we are but stone club-wielding kobolds. I would like to conclude my thesis with a few words of wise counsel from Dagon, an advisor to the Pharaoh of Forgotten Plagues. I doubt you will comprehend the true genius of his statement, but here it is nevertheless. A gadfly sees the ox pays no heed to the gadfly, but crimson fever takes them both. In this case, I think we all know whose side the truth is on. It's not like bickering in a dirty tavern was the height of my aspirations.
A stout old man with a fuzzy gray beard mumbles a prayer. He looks as tired as everyone else in the tavern, but determination is stamped upon his haggard face. What can I do for you? First, I sell scrolls. I have a lot of them, something for every emergency. Second, while you're here in the tavern, I can read one for you. Guaranteed, no surprises. But you'd better not go into the city without a cleric. I won't be going there myself. I'm too old, and my powers are needed here. Vasily Rathimus, rector of the local temple of Abadar. The temple is gone, though. And if we snooze here for much longer, the city will be lost as well. This one? Kayadu the shepherd, my apprentice. He's a smart boy, and his faith is strong. He serves Erastil, though, but there's still something he can learn from an old servant of Abadar. He'll be a great cleric when he gets a little older. Erastil, also known as Old Deadeye and the Stag God, is one of the oldest human gods still worshipped in the Inner Sea region, and is concerned with family, farming, hunting, and trade. During the Age of Creation, Erastil was among the gods who battled Ravagug when he sought to destroy Golarion, and who were eventually able to contain him in the Dead Vault at the planet's core. His religion dates back to before the Age of Darkness, when small farming communities and hunter-gatherers prayed to him for bountiful harvests and successful hunts. Legends claim that it was Old Deadeye himself who crafted the first bow and gifted it to humans to overcome the challenges of the world. Even as the accomplishments of civilization mount, Erastil continues to embrace and represent the simpler pleasures life has to offer. Anevia, in her muted colors, blends almost perfectly into the background. She appears relaxed, but her seemingly unfocused eyes are taking in everything around her, tracking and filtering potential threats. The only tell is the way she drums her fingers on her hip near her weapon sheath. She shows no sign of her injuries and confidently leans on her previously broken leg. She pretends to have just noticed you, even though she watched you approach from afar.
Oh. Hey. See how they patched me up. Now I can run, jump, or dance a jig if I feel like it.
Anevia smiles evasively.
Nothing official. I'm not even a knight, you know, I just hang around. You sure you want to know the details? Catching traitors and spies and cultists is no walk in the park, it's a delicate job. You can't always do it all within the letter of the law. What if we surprise some suspicious blighter with an official search? Everyone will know about it before long, starting with their cronies. Then again, sneaking into people's houses at night ain't exactly legal. Crusaders can't be doing stuff like that, can they? Well, I'm not exactly a knight.
She trails off. She shrugs with a lazy smile.
I'd be happy to, but there's kinda nothing to tell. What's so interesting about me? Nowhere, I was blown in by the wind and found in a cabbage patch.
She stops short.
Sorry, that's an old habit of mine. I don't like blabbing about my past. But you saved my skin, so I guess I kinda owe it to you not to clown around, right? I'm from Nidal. And I wouldn't wish my homeland on my worst enemy. You've heard of the place, I'm sure. Ruled by monsters that aren't alive nor dead, and the official religion is the cult of Zonkuthon. I grew up in a slum, like a weed between the cobblestones. I didn't have a dad, but I had lots of aunts and uncles, my mom's cronies. No prize for guessing the kind of business she was involved in. They gave me a set of lockpicks as soon as I could hold a spoon, and while other kids were picking their noses, I was picking pockets. When I was 12, the monks of the Silent Shroud came for us. Creepy guys with their mouths sewn shut, they're the guards in Miss Roach. Mom gave me to her friends, and we hid in a secret temple of Desna. I never saw my mom again. I lay low in the temple for the next few years, kept my head down. I washed floors, fetched water, listened to sermons. Funny thing, after a while I started liking Desna's teachings. But as soon as I was old enough, I was out of there. I left Nidal and got as far away as I could. You got that right, haha, only the best for you. What do you do if the knights and nobles fail to save the world? The lowlifes are our only hope. It's like living. Without her, I wouldn't be. Seriously, if I were alone, I'd definitely be gone by now. Sure, sometimes we argue, can't deny that. Sometimes we bang our fists on the table and yell so loud that the walls shake, but that's all about order business. But at home, well, I'll give you an example. I've kinda always wanted to move out of that broom closet we call a house and into somewhere cozier. It ain't like they take a vow of poverty at the Eagle Watch. But every month, somehow most of our spare money is spent on Crusader business. Sure, I get mad about it, but...
Anevia makes a helpless gesture.
It's part of why I love her so much. You know, Erebeth has that thing that matters most for a person, a purpose in life. She's always got a reason for whatever she's doing. Her whole life is a crusade. And I just drifted around, like a leaf in the wind, until Desna brought us together. Now she's the meaning of my life. So it really makes no difference if we live in a mansion or under a bush. Thanks for asking. Telling you all this kinda made me feel better. There were a couple spots I wanted to check out, but I didn't have time. If there really is a den of cultists there, it would be good if you could swoop in there and bust some heads. You don't even need a search warrant.
Anevia shoots you a crooked smile.
First one is the Silken Thread. It's a funny little tailor shop that doesn't take any orders and never buys any fabric, but they always seem oh so busy. They're busy with something and they're alright, but sewing it ain't. Second one is the Alchemy Shop, Topaz Solutions. And they trade in everything, not just healing potions. Judging by the ingredients they've been buying on the black market, there's something fishy about the alchemical rituals going down in that place. Alright. You watch yourself now.
cut you wide open!
You've crossed the wrong mongrel.
The Inheritor, guide my blade! Into the fray!
Cover me, all right?